Santos orders the bridge cleared except for essential personnel. Once alone with her core team, she activates a classified communication channel. The hegemony believes they have us cornered. She tells the grim faces on the view screen, leaders of what remains of Earth's military forces. That's our only advantage right now. Admiral Takeda, commander of Earth's home defense fleet, speaks first. We've activated the Lazarus Protocol. Civilian evacuation to the underground habitats is at 63% completion. It won't matter if the hegemony breaks through here, Santos responds. Those habitats would become tombs. Then we need options beyond conventional warfare, says General Rivera, his hologram flickering from interference. Status on the Chen Research Initiative. Santos hesitates. Unclear. They've made progress reverse engineering hegemony gravitics, but nothing that changes our tactical reality. Do we have any assets they don't know about? Asks Takeda. Anything at all? Just one, Santos replies, bringing up a star chart. The UES Pathfinder completed its mission to the Galactic core last month. It carries experimental phase shift technology that might confuse hegemony sensors, but it's 3 days out at maximum burn. That's not soon enough, Rivera says. No, Santos agrees, but I'm authorizing its immediate return regardless. We fight with what we have now, and pray Chen's team delivers a miracle. The meeting ends, and Santos stares at the battle map. The hegemony's methodical advance has been their hallmark across 100 conquests. Precise, mathematical, inevitable. Their technology operates on principles humanity barely comprehends, manipulating gravity itself as both weapon and shield. On the research station, Dr. Chen steps back from his latest failed experiment, wiping sweat from his brow. The captured hegemony weapon core pulses defiantly, refusing to yield its secrets. 17 trials, 17 failures, his assistant, Dr. Waters, notes. Perhaps we're approaching this wrong. We're missing something fundamental. Chen agrees, studying the holographic representation of the hegemony device's quantum structure. Their technology isn't just more advanced. It operates on different principles entirely. He notices Lena Okafor hunched over her workstation in the corner, ignoring the rest of the team. The newly graduated physicist had been a controversial addition. Brilliant but untested, with theories that bordered on scientific heresy. Okafor, he calls. You've been quiet. Any insights? She doesn't look up from her calculations. I think we're blinded by our assumptions. We keep trying to understand their technology through our conventional physics models. And what alternative do you suggest? Chen asks, too exhausted for skepticism. Lena finally looks up, dark circles under her eyes, but intensity burning in her gaze. What if gravity itself is just a symptom, not the cause? What if the hegemony's mastery isn't gravitational manipulation directly, but control over the relationship between mass and space-time? Waters scoffs. That's not how physics works. Not how *R* physics works. Lena corrects. But look at these harmonics in their power signatures. They're not random fluctuations. They're deliberate patterns, like a musical composition. Chen steps closer to her display, seeing the data with fresh eyes. You think their entire technological basis is, what? Mathematical harmony? Precisely, Lena says, bringing up comparison charts. Every hegemony system we've analyzed maintains perfect resonance patterns. No deviation, no chaos. It's beautiful, really, like they've learned to sing to the universe and have it respond. The implications dawn on Chen slowly. And if their technology requires perfect harmony? Lena smiles for the first time in days. Then perhaps we should teach them how dissonance works. Santos leans forward, eyes narrowing at Chen's explanation. So you're saying we don't need to match their power, we need to disrupt it? Precisely, Chen confirms. It's like their technology operates on perfect pitch, and we need to introduce noise. Deliberate, calculated noise, Lena amends. Think of it as a counter melody designed specifically to cancel their symphony. Santos considers this, the tactician in her immediately seeing potential. How quickly can you weaponize this insight? That's the challenge, Chen admits. We need to design, build, and deploy a technology we barely understand. While fighting a losing war, Santos finishes grimly. The communication abruptly cuts as another blast rocks the research station. Emergency systems flicker before stabilizing. We have less than 48 hours, Chen reminds his team. Let's make them count. In the main lab, Lena directs a group of engineers in disassembling a captured hegemony scout vessel. Unlike previous examinations that focused on replicating the technology, they now seek to understand its vulnerabilities. Notice how the gravitational field modulators maintain perfect resonance ratios. She points out, displaying oscillation patterns on her tablet. 7-3 always, never deviating by even 0.001%. That level of precision requires incredible energy expenditure, notes Engineer Kapoor. They're maintaining it even when the system is idle. Because they have to, Lena realizes, excitement building. What if this precision isn't just effective? What if it's mandatory for system stability? She rushes to a simulation station, fingers flying across the interface. The others gather around as she models a hegemony gravitational matrix, then introduces increasingly chaotic elements to it. At first, nothing happens. The system compensates. But as she increases the disruptive input beyond a certain threshold, the simulation shows the entire network cascading into failure, energy patterns turning self-destructive. Their technological philosophy follows order above all else, Lena explains. They've optimized so thoroughly for efficiency that they've engineered out adaptability. It's like an immune system that's never encountered disease, powerful but vulnerable to the unexpected. Dr. Chen stares at the simulation, mind racing. We need to build a prototype immediately. Kapoor, requisition the quantum oscillators from MedLab 3. Rodriguez, reconfigure the particle accelerator components for gravitic manipulation. As the team disperses, Chen pulls Lena aside. This wasn't in any of your published papers. Where did this theory come from? Lena hesitates. I grew up in Lagos during the first hegemony attacks. My parents were musicians. They died when the concert hall was hit. Her voice remains steady, but her eyes betray old pain. Afterward, I became obsessed with understanding the enemy. I noticed patterns in their attack formations that resembled musical structures, mathematical, precise, beautiful in their way, harmonic. And you connected that to their technology, Chen realizes. Music and mathematics are universal languages, she says. The hegemony's technological advancement isn't just about power, it's about purity of expression. They've eliminated noise, randomness, chaos. Their ships move in perfect formation because their minds work that way. Their entire civilization is built on harmonic principles. While humanity, Chen begins. We thrive on adaptation and improvisation, Lena finishes. Jazz versus classical. They've perfected their symphony over millennia, but they've never had to play with someone who keeps changing the tempo. On the main view screen, another human defense squadron vanishes under hegemony fire. Their time is running out. Let's build an instrument they've never heard before, Chen says, determination hardening his voice, and play them a song that shatters their perfect harmony. The prototype disruptor lies on the central workbench, an ungainly fusion of human and hegemony technology. Engineers and physicists crowd around as Lena makes final adjustments to the phase harmonics. This shouldn't work, Dr. Waters mutters, shaking his head. It violates half a dozen fundamental principles. Only principles we thought were fundamental, Chen corrects him. The hegemony operates beyond our conventional understanding. Lena steps back, wiping her hands on her lab coat, ready for initial power-up sequence. The lab falls silent as Chen activates the device. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a low hum builds gradually, the air around the disruptor shimmering like a heat mirage. Monitoring equipment displays erratic gravitational readings. Containment field holding at 89% efficiency. A technician reports, local gravity fluctuating within acceptable parameters. Chen watches the readings intently. Now for the real test. Bring in the captured hegemony drone. 2 security officers wheel in a sealed container holding a disabled hegemony reconnaissance device, one of the few intact pieces of enemy technology they've managed to recover. The drone, approximately the size of a human forearm, consists of intricately interwoven metallic structures around a pulsing purple core. Activating drone in 3, 2, 1. The drone rises from its container, hovering smoothly as its systems reactivate. Purple light pulses along its surface as it begins standard scanning protocols. Disruptor to 10% power, Lena directs. The prototype emits a barely perceptible pulse. The drone continues functioning normally. 20%. Another pulse. The drone wavers slightly but stabilizes. 30%. The drone's hovering becomes erratic. Its purple light flickers. 40%. With a harsh electronic screech, the drone plummets to the floor, its elegant geometry suddenly twisting inward. The purple core flares brightly, then dims to darkness. Success! Someone shouts as applause breaks out across the lab. Chen raises a hand for quiet. Partial success. The power requirements are enormous for such a small target. Scaling this up to affect hegemony capital ships would require more energy than we can possibly generate. Lena finishes, already calculating. Unless she pulls up schematics of the human fleet. What if each ship carries a disruptor tuned to a specific frequency? Individually, they'd be too weak, but together. A distributed network, Chen realizes, each disruptor amplifying the others. Like musicians in an orchestra, Lena continues, excitement building, but playing deliberately out of harmony with the hegemony's music. How many ships would we need? Asks Santos over the still-open communication channel. All of them. Chen answers grimly. Every vessel capable of housing a disruptor would need to participate, and they'd need to be positioned in a precise formation for maximum effect. Santos' expression hardens with determination. Then that's what we'll do. A tactical officer interrupts, appearing at Santos' side. Commander, hegemony forces have broken through Sector 7. The Thermopylae battle group is requesting immediate reinforcement. Denied, Santos replies without hesitation. Have Captain Hayes continue delaying action as planned. We need to buy Dr. Chen's team more time. Yes, Commander. The Thermopylae reports they can hold for approximately 3 more hours before being overwhelmed. Santos turns back to Chen. You have 3 hours to finalize your design specs, Doctor. After that, we begin immediate fleet-wide implementation. As the communication ends, Chen looks at the massive undertaking before them. 3 hours to finalize a technology we barely understand, based on theoretical physics we're inventing as we go. Lena is already modifying the prototype, her face set with determination. Then we'd better stop talking and start working. Throughout the lab, scientists and engineers return to their stations with renewed urgency. In space above them, the Thermopylae battle group moves to engage a hegemony force 5 times their size, knowing they're fighting not just for tactical advantage, but for precious time. Aboard the inevitable dominance, Kazek's retreats to the private meditation chamber, the vast circular room, designed to enhance cognitive functions through precise gravitational fluctuations, hums with a frequency that would be imperceptible to human senses. 6 massive viewing portals display different sectors of the battle, all showing hegemony dominance. Yet unease persists in the Supreme Overlord's mind. Enter. Kazek's commands as the door chimes. Sub-Commander Vrex approaches, maintaining the proper 7 steps of distance. Supreme One, our advance forces report the human defenders have abandoned Sector 9 completely. They appear to be condensing their remaining fleet around their research installation. Curious. Kazek murmurs. Their tactical doctrine typically emphasizes protecting civilian infrastructure. This research facility must hold particular significance. We've increased surveillance on the installation. Vrex reports. Our systems detect unusual gravitational anomalies emanating from it. Minor disturbances, nothing threatening. Tex rises, 4 arms folded behind, while 2 manipulate a floating tactical display. Show me the data. Vrex transfers the readings. Kizek studies the gravitational patterns with all 6 eyes narrowed in concentration. To most hegemony analysts, the disturbances would appear random, insignificant. But Kizek has conquered 17 species across 6,000 cycles of galactic time. Experience has taught the Supreme Overlord to recognize patterns where others see chaos. These fluctuations, they're artificial, Kizek realizes. Deliberate. A weapon? Vrex asks, mandibles clicking with concern. Unclear, Kizek admits, but something worth investigating before our main fleet arrives. The Supreme Overlord makes a decision. Direct the destroyer subjugation to conduct a close scan orbit of the human research station. Full gravitational sensory array deployment. As you command. After Vrex departs, Kizek activates a highly secured communication channel directly to the hegemony homeworld, bypassing the usual command structure. Request immediate archive access. Subject: gravitational warfare countermeasures, all historical records. The response is immediate. Request denied. No such records exist. Sex clicks in irritation. Override authority. Kizek, Supreme Overlord, Conquest Division. Access code. Harmony 7 Perfection 9. A pause. Then, override accepted. Warning. Requested archives classified beyond normal Supreme Overlord clearance. Proceed. The data that flows to Kizek's private terminal is disturbing. 8,000 cycles ago, during the early expansion era, a species designated the Discordant had briefly challenged hegemony forces using technology that created localized gravitational chaos. The records are fragmentary, most details purged, but what remains suggests the hegemony suffered significant losses before ultimately prevailing. Sex scans the limited tactical response guidelines with growing concern. The countermeasures described would require months to implement across the fleet, time they don't have with the imminent final assault. Subjugation approaching human research station announces the tactical command channel, beginning detailed scan sequence. On the secondary display, Kizek watches as the destroyer moves into position. Its powerful sensors probe the human facility, gathering data on the gravitational anomalies. Without warning, a small human vessel, the corvette designated Harpy, breaks from a nearby asteroid field and accelerates toward the subjugation. The destroyer's weapons target the approaching craft, but before they fire, the corvette activates something. For exactly 3.27 seconds, the subjugation's systems fluctuate. Not catastrophically, but enough to delay its response. The weapon's discharge comes too late. The Harpy crashes into the destroyer's lateral sensor array in a suicidal attack before being vaporized. Damage report, Kizek demands. Superficial only, Supreme One. Lateral sensors temporarily offline. Full functionality will return in approximately 20 minutes, and the gravitational anomaly detected just before impact. Analysis inconclusive. The pattern appears similar to hegemony gravitic technology, but imperfect, chaotic, possibly a failed attempt to replicate our systems. Kex remains silent, contemplating. The humans wouldn't sacrifice a vessel for superficial damage without purpose. The Supreme Overlord accesses the raw sensor data from the subjugation's final seconds of observation before the collision. There, buried in the data stream, confirmation of Kizek's suspicions. The gravitational disruption wasn't aimed at destroying the subjugation. It was a test. Deploy reserve fleet in defensive formation. Kizek orders suddenly. Increase distance between capital ships by factor 3. Supreme 1. Vrex questions, confused by the command that contradicts standard hegemony battle doctrine. The humans have rediscovered what the Discordant knew, Kizek explains. They're developing gravitational disruption technology. Standard formations would make us vulnerable. Vrex hesitates. With respect, Supreme One, the humans are primitives. They cannot possibly understand gravitational manipulation at our level. They don't need to understand it, Kazek responds. They only need to disrupt it. The research station's main power conduits groan under the strain as technicians reroute critical systems. Emergency lights cast everything in a red glow, giving the frantic activity an almost hellish appearance. Another hit from a hegemony destroyer rocks the structure, sending tools and equipment sliding across workbenches. Structural integrity at 61% and falling. The station AI reports with eerie calm. Hull breach on levels 3 through 7. Life support compromised in sectors 12, 14, and 19. Dr. Chen ignores the warnings, focusing instead on the schematics for converting the station itself into a gravitational beacon. If we reconfigure the fusion reactor to pulse in this specific pattern, we could generate a gravitational signature an order of magnitude stronger than our shipboard disruptors. But the harmonics would tear the station apart within minutes, Lena points out, rapidly calculating variables on her tablet. We won't need minutes, Chen replies grimly. Just long enough to trigger the cascade effect. Throughout the station, scientists and engineers who chose to remain work with grim determination. Many had already evacuated in the first wave of escape pods, but these volunteers understand the stakes and the likelihood they won't survive. In the auxiliary control room, what remains of station security monitors the approaching hegemony vessels. Main battle group ETA 12 minutes, reports Lieutenant Diaz, her face illuminated by tactical displays. We're counting at least 3 capital ships and 7 destroyers in the first wave alone. Chen nods, acknowledging the information without looking up from his work. Status of disruptor implementation across the fleet. Commander Santos reports 87% of surviving vessels have successfully installed the technology. Diaz answers. The rest are either still in process or, she hesitates, too damaged to participate. Another impact shakes the station violently. Ceiling panels crash down, narrowly missing Lena as she dives aside. Warning, reactor containment systems compromised, announces the AI. Recommend immediate evacuation of all personnel. Chen activates the station-wide communication system. Attention all remaining staff. Final evacuation protocol is now in effect. Proceed to emergency escape pods immediately. He pauses, then adds, your service to humanity will not be forgotten. As the announcement ends, he turns to Lena. That includes you, Dr. Okafor. Your work here is done. She doesn't look up from her calculations, not quite. I've identified a critical flaw in our gravitational model. The resonance patterns won't synchronize properly with a completely automated system. Meaning? Someone needs to remain at the controls to make manual adjustments as the power fluctuates, she explains, still typing rapidly. The window for achieving perfect anti-resonance with the hegemony fleet will be milliseconds. Too narrow for our computers to handle with the damage we've sustained. Ken stares at her in growing horror as he understands what she's proposing. There has to be another way. If there is, we don't have time to find it. She finally meets his gaze. This was always a one-way mission for whoever stayed behind. In the distance, the rumble of approaching hegemony ships grows louder. Through the viewports, the massive hegemony flagship is visible, its geometrically perfect silhouette growing larger against the stars. On the Defiance, Santos receives the updated plan from the research station. Her tactical officer looks up in alarm. Commander, Dr. Chen is requesting that we position our fleet in formation Omega immediately, but that configuration would leave us completely vulnerable if their plan fails. Santos studies the proposed formation, a seemingly random arrangement that contradicts every principle of space combat tactics she's ever learned, yet she understands its purpose. To create the precise gravitational interference pattern needed to amplify the research station's beacon. Order all ships to assume formation Omega, she commands, and may whatever gods are watching forgive us if we're wrong. Back at the station, Chen makes a final, desperate plea. Lena, the calculations can be transmitted to my escape pod. I can guide the process remotely. The transmission lag would make precision impossible, she counters. You know that. Another impact rocks the station more violently than before. Fire suppression systems activate automatically, spraying white foam across damaged sections. Structure integrity at 42%, the AI warns. Critical failure imminent. Chen looks at Lena, brilliant, determined, so young, and sees that her mind is made up. With reluctance, he nods. I'll make sure your contribution is remembered. Just make sure it works, she replies, already turning back to the control systems. Now go. You have approximately 3 minutes before this position becomes untenable. As Chen heads for the last escape pod, he passes the remaining technicians and security personnel, also rushing to evacuate. Lieutenant Dias pauses briefly at the control room doorway, looking back at Lena. It's been an honor, Doctor, she says simply. Lena glances up briefly. Remember us with victory, Lieutenant. The bridge of the Defiance falls silent as officers observe the bizarre formation taking shape on tactical displays. Human vessels position themselves in what appears to be a random, scattered arrangement, leaving glaring vulnerabilities that violate every principle of defensive positioning. Yorktown and Sentinel in position, reports Lieutenant Commander Park. Athena Squadron forming up in Quadrant 6. Formation Omega at 79% completion. Santos nods, outwardly projecting confidence while inwardly wrestling with doubt. She's betting everything on a theoretical technology and an untested strategy. If Chen's calculations are wrong, she's just arranged the fleet for perfect slaughter. Commander, her communications officer interrupts. We're receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Kostov. Santos straightens. Put him through. Admiral Kostov's weathered face appears on the main screen, his expression a mixture of confusion and alarm. Commander Santos, our orbital monitors show your fleet executing what appears to be. I don't even know what to call it. Explain yourself. With respect, Admiral, we're implementing a strategic plan based on the research station's breakthrough. By positioning our remaining ships in the most vulnerable formation possible, Kostov demands. Our analysts are calling it tactical suicide. It would be, under normal circumstances, Santos acknowledges. But these aren't normal circumstances. Kostov leans forward. Santos, listen to me. Earth's orbital defenses are the last line. If you fall, we fall. I'm ordering you to revert to standard defensive formations immediately. Santos hesitates, aware that the eyes of her entire bridge crew are upon her. Defying a direct order from Fleet Command would end her career, assuming any of them survive the next few hours. Sir, I understand your concerns, but this isn't a request, Commander. It's a direct order. Santos takes a deep breath, decision made. Admiral, I'm invoking Emergency Protocol Delta 7. Murmurs ripple across the bridge. Delta 7 was established after the Saturn massacre, allowing field commanders to maintain tactical autonomy when they believed Fleet Command's orders might result in strategic catastrophe. Kostov's expression hardens. You're risking court-martial, Santos. Only if we survive, sir, she replies evenly. And if we do survive, I'll gladly face those consequences. The Admiral stares at her for a long moment before nodding curtly. Very well, Commander. May whatever gods you believe in watch over you. The transmission cuts. Formation Omega complete, announces Park. All vessels in position and standing by. Santos activates the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Commander Santos. Activate disruptors on my mark and maintain current positions regardless of what happens. Remember, the hegemony expects us to break formation when they attack. Our unpredictability is our strength. She pauses, then adds, many of you joined this fight seeking vengeance for fallen worlds. Today, you'll have it. Aboard the inevitable dominance, Kizex observes the human formation with increasing unease. Their positioning defies all tactical logic, notes Sub-Commander Vrex. They've left critical vulnerabilities throughout their defensive perimeter. It's not a defensive perimeter, KZX realizes aloud. It's a trap. What sort of trap could primitives possibly set for the might of the hegemony? Vrex dismisses. Our technological superiority is absolute. Before KZX can respond, a priority message arrives from Hegemony High Command. The Supreme Overlord reads it with stiffening posture. The High Command orders immediate full engagement. KZX announces reluctantly. They believe the humans are desperate and disorganized. As the evidence suggests, Vrex agrees, gesturing to the tactical display. Evidence can deceive. KZX counters. I want gravitational sensors at maximum sensitivity. If the humans attempt anything unusual with gravitic manipulation, I want to know instantly. The sensors might interfere with weapons targeting efficiency, Vrex cautions. I'm aware. KZX replies sharply. Proceed. As the hegemony fleet advances through the gaps in the human formation, KZX continues studying the research station. Something about its power signature has changed, growing stronger but also unstable, pulsing in irregular patterns that trigger an ancestral instinct for danger in the Supreme Overlord's mind. On the Defiance, Santos watches the hegemony ships move into position. They advance with their trademark precision, their formations beautiful in their geometric perfection. In any other context, she might have admired their elegance. They're in the primary engagement zone, Park announces. All ships report disruptors at full charge. Santos takes a final moment to think of Earth, of the billions depending on her decision, of Lena Okafor alone on the dying research station preparing to trigger a gravitational cascade unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. May the universe forgive us, she whispers, then raises her voice. All ships, activate disruptors. Now. Throughout the human fleet, disruptors activate simultaneously. The devices hum to life, their energy signatures barely registering on conventional sensors. For a breathless moment, nothing seems to happen. Then, the fabric of space itself begins to shimmer between the vessels. On the research station, Lena works feverishly at the control console. Fire rages in adjacent compartments, held back only by emergency force fields that flicker ominously. The station's superstructure groans under gravitational stresses never meant to be endured. Primary disruptor matrix online, she announces to no one, her voice steady despite sweat streaming down her face from the rising heat. Synchronizing with fleet disruptor network. Her hands dance across the interface, making minute adjustments as data streams in from the fleet. The mathematics are beautiful in their complexity. Each disruptor's frequency must be precisely calibrated to reinforce the others while creating maximum interference with hegemony systems. Aboard the inevitable dominance, the first subtle effects manifest. Navigation officers report minuscule discrepancies in gravitational readings. Sensor malfunction, queries Vrex, leaning over a technician's station. Negative, Sub-Commander. All diagnostics read normal, yet the gravitational constants are shifting. Tex moves to the central gravitational mapping display, a three-dimensional representation of the local space that the hegemony uses to plot their precise maneuvers. Tiny distortions appear throughout the normally smooth contours of space-time. It begins, the Supreme Overlord murmurs. Activate countermeasures. But Supreme One, Vrex objects. The countermeasures are untested. They might destabilize our own systems. The alternative is worse. KZX snaps. Do it now. Throughout the hegemony fleet, engineers scramble to implement emergency protocols never before needed in actual combat. The countermeasures, hurriedly adapted from ancient records, require recalibrating weapons and propulsion systems to operate within wider tolerance ranges. On the Defiance, Santos receives the first tactical assessments. Minor effect observed on hegemony Vanguard vessels, reports the science officer, disappointment evident in her voice. Their navigational systems show slight imprecision, but nothing catastrophic. Santos grips her command chair tighter. The cascade effect hasn't fully built yet. Status of the research station. Power signature increasing dramatically, responds Park. They're channeling everything into the gravitic beacon. Inside the station, alarms blare as systems overload throughout the structure. Lena ignores them, focused entirely on the gravitational harmonics displayed before her. The station's reactor pulses with increasing intensity, its containment systems straining beyond design limits. 70% synchronization achieved, she mutters, fingers flying across controls. A support beam crashes down behind her, missing by inches. Gravitational cascade approaching critical threshold. The display shows the combined effect of all disruptors throughout the fleet, hundreds of gravitational distortions merging into a single complex pattern, amplified by the station's beacon. The waveform builds, approaching but not quite reaching the destructive resonance needed to disable hegemony technology. Not enough, Lena realizes, quickly calculating alternatives. Need to shift the primary harmonic by 0.3 units. She makes the adjustment, but the system resists. The reactor can't channel any more power without complete failure. Emergency lockouts prevent pushing further. With grim determination, Lena overrides the safeties. Warning messages flash across her screen as she reroutes power from life support and structural integrity fields. The air grows thin as oxygen is diverted to cooling systems. 90% synchronization, she gasps, breathing becoming difficult. Close but not quite. Her vision blurs as oxygen levels plummet. With the last of her strength, she enters a final command sequence, one that will bypass all remaining safeties and channel the station's entire power reserve, including emergency backups, into one massive gravitational pulse. "Forgive me," she whispers, thinking of her parents and the music they once created. Then she executes the command. Throughout the battlefield, human ship captains watch in awe as the research station blazes with energy unlike anything they'd witnessed before. Its structural integrity fails catastrophically, but in its death throes, it emits a gravitational pulse that amplifies the fleet's disruptor network 100-fold. The cascade effect, previously building too slowly, suddenly accelerates. Gravitational distortions ripple through space in complex, chaotic patterns that no hegemony computer can predict or counter. On the inevitable dominance, gravity itself seems to go mad. Objects float upward then crash down with crushing force. The perfect harmonics of hegemony technology falter, then fail as their gravitational reference points become meaningless. What is happening? Demands Frex, struggling to maintain footing as the deck plates buckle beneath him. Sex, secured to the command throne by magnetic fields, watches as the beautiful order of the hegemony fleet dissolves into chaos. They've rediscovered the discordant's secret, the Supreme Overlord answers quietly. They've weaponized uncertainty itself. Admiral Santos stands on the observation deck of the newly christened UES Okafor, gazing at the stars. 6 weeks after the miracle at Proxima, as the media now calls it, recovery efforts continue throughout the system. Salvage teams work among the debris field, recovering valuable hegemony technology, and when possible, human remains for proper burial. Admiral. Dr. Chen approaches, looking more rested than she's seen him since before the battle. The analysis of the hegemony gravitational core is complete. Santos accepts the datapad he offers, and we've confirmed what we suspected. Their entire technological foundation is based on mathematical harmonics, the manipulation of universal constants through perfectly resonant energy patterns. He pauses. Lena was right. Their strength was also their fundamental weakness. And now that weakness is ours to exploit, Santos observes, scrolling through the technical data. What's the status of Project Dissonance? Advancing rapidly. With the recovered hegemony technology, we've refined the disruptors to be twice as effective using half the energy. Chen smiles faintly. We've also discovered applications beyond weapons. Their gravitational manipulation techniques could revolutionize our propulsion systems, energy production, even medicine. Santos nods, satisfied. And the historical records recovered from the inevitable dominance. still being translated, but they're illuminating. Chen's expression grows thoughtful. The hegemony faced a similar threat 8,000 years ago, from a species they called the discordant. They developed countermeasures eventually, but it took them nearly a year, time we won't give them. In the distance, a flotilla of Earth ships maneuvers among the wreckage. New vessels, Santos notes, already retrofitted with gravitational systems reverse-engineered from hegemony technology. The familiar silhouettes now pulse with the subtle blue glow of hybrid human hegemony drives. We've recovered approximately 60% of Kix's flagship, Chen continues. Most importantly, we secured their navigational database. It contains the coordinates of every major hegemony world, military installation, and supply depot, giving us tactical options we've never had before. Santos finishes, already considering the strategic implications. A soft chime announces an incoming priority transmission. Santos accepts it, and President Mbiki's hologram materializes before them. Admiral, Dr. Mbiki nods in greeting. I've just concluded an emergency session with the United Earth Council. The hegemony delegation has arrived at Titan Station to begin peace negotiations. They're stalling, Santos states with certainty. Intelligence reports their shipyards are working overtime to modify their fleet with countermeasures. Undoubtedly, Mbeki agrees, which is why we're not waiting. Operation Thunderclap has been approved. Santos straightens. The Council approved a preemptive strike. Unanimously, you'll lead 3 battle groups equipped with the latest disruptor technology to target key hegemony production facilities. We strike while they're still vulnerable. After the transmission ends, Santos and Chen walk to the edge of the observation deck, where a memorial wall lists the names of those lost in the battle. Santos pauses before Lena Okafer's name, newly etched in the polished surface. She never saw the results of her work, Santos says quietly. Chen places a hand against the memorial. She knew what it would mean, though. She calculated the odds perfectly, like everything else. A junior officer approaches with a data crystal. Admiral, final briefing for Operation Thunderclap. Santos accepts it, determination hardening her features. Have all commanding officers meet in the war room in 1 hour. It's time to take this fight to their territory. Later, as the Okafer leads the battle group toward the jump point, Santos studies the tactical display showing their destination, a major hegemony shipyard complex near their core worlds. For the first time in the decade-long war, humans would strike at the heart of enemy territory rather than desperately defending their own. All ships report disruptors online and functioning at optimal capacity, her XO reports. Jump coordinates locked. Fleet standing by for your command. Santos takes a moment to consider how much has changed in just 6 weeks, from the brink of extinction to the precipice of victory, from hopeless defense to confident defense. Send a final message to Earth Command, she orders. Operation Thunderclap commencing. We will return with our shields, not on them. The ships accelerate toward the jump point, their engines glowing with the hybrid technology that represents humanity's new path forward, not just mimicking hegemony technology, but transforming it, improving it through the very chaos and adaptation that defines the human spirit. In her quarters, Santos keeps a small memento from the research station, a simple music player recovered from Lena's workstation. It contains recordings of her parents' concerts, the classical harmonies that had inspired her understanding of the hegemony's technological philosophy. Santos activates it occasionally, listening to the perfect mathematical precision of the compositions. But unlike the hegemony, she also appreciates the brief moments of improvisation, the notes not on the written page, the creative flourishes that make the music truly human. Like humanity itself, their greatest strength lies not in perfection, but in the beautiful unpredictability of their nature.